Welcome to American Baker Germany. I'm Michelle, and today we are making a steampunk hatbox cake. I'm really excited about this. Last year I made a steampunk top hat cake, but this is going to be a little bit different look. I'm excited about it, so let's get started.
I start out by frosting my cake. This is strawberry cake and vegan American buttercream. You'll notice this cake is a lot more crumbly than usual, and that's because it was a rather spontaneous cake. So I decorated the cake the same day I baked the cake. It wasn't chilled, so the crumb coat was very important for this cake. While the cake was chilling, I prepared the fondant. I wanted colors that are appropriate for the 19th century, so everything should be a little bit warm. I made some ivory fondant by adding ivory food coloring to white fondant, and I made some dusty rose fondant by adding some red and a bit of brown to white fondant. Then I frosted the cake again. And cleaned up the cake board with a damp rag. Then I rolled out the dusty rose fondant. And draped it over the cake. I smoothed it down with my hands and cut off the excess with a knife. I cut the fondant just a touch short at one point, so I patched the hole with a bit of excess fondant. Then I rolled out a thin strip of dusty rose fondant and cut it even with a ruler. If you like what we do here, hit that like button. And while you're down there, hit subscribe. Then I glued it around the top of the cake. This is supposed to make the lid part of the hat box. Then I rolled out another strip of ivory fondant. I trimmed one edge to be straight and used a decorative border cutter for the other edge. I used a small round piping tip to cut out small holes into the fondant to look like lace. I glued the lace around the bottom edge of the hat box. Then I rolled out a wide strip of ivory fondant. I used a pointed fondant tool to create ruffles along both edges of the strip. Then I used a larger round piping tip to make more holes evenly spaced along the strip. Then I glued the belt along the center of the cake across the top. Unfortunately, the fondant tore at one point, so I glued the pieces together as best I could. Then I had an idea. I could cover the tear with a belt buckle. So I rolled out some gold fondant and cut it to the size of a belt buckle. Then I rounded the corners with a piping tip and cut out a square from the center. I glued it on the belt with edible glue. And added a small piece of fondant to the nearest hole to finish off the belt buckle. So far, this is looking like a lovely hat box, but it's not very steampunk, except for the 19th century look. This needs some gears. I used a piping tip to cut out some circles and used a couple different techniques to make gears or cogs. Sometimes I cut the teeth out with a knife. And sometimes I used a round piping tip. I also pressed some with different sizes of round tips to make circles in it. And sometimes I cut out small circles from the center of the cog. I placed 4 cogs onto the cake and decided I needed another one. Then I mixed some gold luster dust with clear food-grade alcohol to create an edible paint and painted all of the gold fondant. You can see my helper going through the piping tips. I am so happy with this cake. I think it turned out very romantic, and the cogs lend it just a touch of whimsy. So fun and gorgeous, what more could you want? For more cakes and tutorials, visit our website at americanbakerin germany.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember my helper? This is 6-year-old Sabrina. Once I was finished with the video and photos, I allowed her to decorate herself. This is what she came up with. Budding artist?